Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a parent, you already know the drill, right? Dealing with toddler meltdowns can easily be one of the most exhausting, flat-out overwhelming parts of your day. But what if it actually didn't have to be a battle? Today, we're going to dive into a totally guilt-free, highly actionable toolkit to help you manage those really intense moments. Okay, let's jump right in.
So, let's start with a moment of total honesty straight from the source material just to validate that breaking point that pretty much every parent reaches. You know the feeling. You've dealt with the fourth tantrum of the morning, the spilled cereal, the absolute screaming over having the blue cup instead of the red one, and you just snap. You yell. Not because it feels good, obviously, but out of sheer desperation. But here's the crucial point the author realized. Yelling doesn't actually stop the tantrums. It usually makes the child scream louder, dig in harder, and leaves absolutely everyone in tears. We need a method that actually works without that heavy guilt hangover.
And to find that method, we'll be drawing directly from this guide, How to Fix Child Tantrums Without Yelling or Bribing. Our main goal today is to completely move away from viewing a tantrum as some sort of power struggle that you have to win, and move towards a deeply practical, step-by-step approach that actually brings peace back to your home.
To make this super easy to digest, we've broken the source material into 6 clear steps. The truth about tantrums, the prevention first approach, how to keep your cool, navigating the mid-tantrum storm, boundaries without the bribes, and finally, repairing after the storm. Think of this as your clear before, during, and after mental roadmap.
All right, step 1, the truth about tantrums, shifting the paradigm. Let's get into it.
Because before we can even attempt to fix a tantrum, we have to fundamentally redefine what it actually is. We need to strip away this whole idea of bad behavior. A tantrum is not calculated defiance, it's really just your child's nervous system short-circuiting. They're exhausted, they're hungry, they're overwhelmed by too much stimulation, or maybe they just can't express what they need with words yet. And this shift, it changes our entire perspective. When we stop seeing this as a battle and start recognizing it as an urgent communication, like a signal flare, we can finally address the root cause.
And part of addressing that root cause is looking at the hidden triggers that honestly most of us completely miss. Moving a child from one activity to another without any warning, that's a massive one. Or giving them way too many choices, offering them freedom when their little brains just aren't ready to process it. Another huge factor is our own stress. Kids heavily mirror our tension. The more unpredictable and stressful life feels for us, the more meltdowns happen for them.
Moving right along to step 2, the prevention first approach, stopping them before they even start.
So now we're in the before phase. The crucial point here is that most tantrums can actually be drastically reduced before they ever begin. Kids thrive on knowing exactly what's coming next. If you start giving a simple 5-minute warning like, hey, 5 more minutes, then bath time, you completely eliminate the shock of that transition. Also, try offering limited choices. Just ask, do you want the red shirt or the blue shirt, instead of opening up the entire closet. And incredibly practically, stay ahead of hunger with planned snacks. Seriously, hunger is behind way more tantrums than you might think. Using these tactics creates an environment where your child actually feels safe and understood.
Okay, step 3, how to keep your cool, managing yourself first.
Because let's be real here, even with the absolute best prevention in the world, tantrums are still going to happen. And when that screaming starts, your body naturally reacts. Your heart races, your voice starts to rise, and your immediate instinct is to just shut the noise down. We've all felt that panic. But as we learned just a minute ago, matching their chaos with our own yelling, it only makes them dig in harder. So the big question is, how do we actually stop our own bodily reactions?
Well, the author provides this incredibly practical 4-step sequence to literally force your own nervous system to cool down. First, literally count to 3 in your head. Just breathe before speaking. Second, and this is a highly counterintuitive move, but it works, lower your voice intentionally. Lowering your voice forces your child to quiet down just so they can hear you. Third, take a physical step back to give yourself a little space before engaging. And finally, silently repeat one calming phrase in your head. This is communication, not defiance. You absolutely have to manage yourself before you can even think about managing them.
Which brings us to step 4, navigating the mid-tantrum storm. What to do when it actually happens.
We're now officially in the during phase, where exactly what we say matters just as much as how we say it. Notice the clear do's and don'ts here. Don't lecture, and whatever you do, don't argue logic. A child's brain simply cannot process logic mid-meltdown. And don't use threats like, if you don't stop right now, no TV. Instead, do stay nearby and stay calm. Get right down to their eye level. Offer empathy before solutions by acknowledging their feelings, saying something simple like, "You're upset we can't go outside." Use very short, simple phrases like, "I'm here, you're safe." You aren't giving in, you're just showing them that you're on their side.
Step 5. Boundaries without the bribes. Firm but kind.
Now, offering all that empathy and connection, it does not mean we're just giving in or letting them run the house. Actually, kids test limits because they need to feel safe, and your consistency is exactly what builds that safety. Boundaries are entirely necessary, but they don't have to be loud or scary. You can calmly state what isn't okay, like, "We don't hit," and then immediately redirect them to a safe alternative by saying, "But you can stomp your feet on the floor instead." The real magic here is following through calmly, every single time. It's about firm boundaries delivered with kindness.
And finally, step 6, repairing after the storm. Honestly, this might be the most crucial step of all.
This is the after phase. It's an often overlooked step, but it is absolutely critical for teaching long-term emotional intelligence. Once the tantrum passes, you must reconnect. Offer a hug. Talk briefly about what happened by naming the emotion, something like, "You were really mad when that happened, weren't you?" And then end on a positive note. Read a book, draw together, or just cuddle. Following this post-tantrum protocol teaches your child one of the most incredibly valuable lessons in life, that conflict and big emotions do not permanently break your relationship.
And it's so important for our own mental health as parents to remember this one thing. Tantrums aren't proof you're failing. They're proof your child is learning how to handle big emotions, and you are their guide. By consistently choosing calm over control and connection over bribes, you're actively teaching them emotional regulation skills, and those are skills that will serve them far, far beyond the toddler years.
So here is your immediate, practical checklist. Take a screenshot if you need to, because these are the action items you can start using today to literally transform the dynamic in your home. Pinpoint your child's top 3 tantrum triggers. Start adding that 5-minute warning before every transition. Practice naming feelings out loud, even when things are going great and they aren't having a tantrum. Train yourself to lower your voice instead of raising it when tensions spike. And above all, always reconnect after a conflict.
Let's wrap up with this final thought. What would actually change in your home if you viewed your child's next tantrum as a call for help instead of a battle you needed to win? Just think about how that simple perspective shift could entirely replace your parenting guilt with confidence, leaving you connected, calm, and perfectly equipped for the next inevitable meltdown. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you feel ready to put these tools into practice.